And I was in the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel. Oh, Pastor, we're studying Old Testament today. Yes, we are. It's been a while. I know it's been a while that we haven't studied the Old Testament. And I think it's about time for us to also have this appreciation about the Old Testament. Ezekiel chapter 36. In the next 3 Sundays, I will study Ezekiel 36, the whole chapter. But then for this morning, we'll study verses 1 all the way to verse 12. Ezekiel. Oh, one of the, I don't know if you remember one of my previous messages, one of the most difficult books in the Old Testament is Ezekiel, because it was a prophecy. It's just impossible for us to just jump into verse 36 without even going through chapter 1 all the way to 34. But just to give you a fast review, okay, just a quick review of Ezekiel. Ezekiel was written by the prophet Ezekiel. It just so happened that Israel, who was so blessed by God, remember this, Israel was so blessed by God that they have the most progressive economy in the world back then. They have fortified cities, meaning they have wonderful cities. Their economy is booming. Their people is amazing. I mean, they are living in the golden years. I mean, they're just amazing time. But then when amazing time comes, what's the number thing that Israel do? Number one, they forget God. They forget God. And that is always the history of Israel. So they forget God. They started worshiping idols. They're worshiping other gods. And they started becoming rude with one another. And so, what God the Father said is, hey, you know what? You have been stubborn people. I have blessed you. I have kept you safe from the foreign armies. I have kept your people freed from disease. But what have you done? You have rebelled against God. You have disobeyed my will. And you have treated one another rudely. And so what happened was, there were armies, foreign armies, basically Babylon. And the king is Nebuchadnezzar. So he went into Israel, wiped the cities, and they took the Israel as captives. Now, that is the first chapter 1 all the way to 34. So just to give you a background. So they were living in exile. And then Ezekiel said, and this is coming into verse 36, Son of man, prophesy to the mountains of Israel and say, O mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. The enemy said of you, aha, the ancient heights have become our possessions. This is referring to the devil, referring to the Israelites. The enemy said of you, aha, the ancient heights have become our possession. Therefore, prophesy and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says, because they ravaged and hunted you from every side, so that you became the possession of the rest of the nations and the object of people, malicious talks and slanders. So, okay. This is the focus of the message is speaking to your mountains. Okay, Pastor, do we speak to the mountains? Let me just clarify that later. Throughout the Bible, mountains are mentioned in significant ways. When we speak of mountain, we speak of significant ways. The Bible, let me just go through this. The prophet Isaiah was in the cave on a mountain when he heard the voice of God. When God reveals himself to people, mountains are very, very important part of the story. The prophet Isaiah was in a cave on a mountain when he heard the voice of God. Caleb, I don't know if you remember Caleb. Caleb was one of the 12 spies who, with Joshua. Caleb was given a mountain as his inheritance. You know, when you live in the mountains, it's a good place. I don't know if you've been to Big Bear, been to I know there's a Pacific, not Pacific Coast, but there's not Pasadena. It starts with a P. Pacific Palisades. I don't know if you've been to Pacific Palisades, but it's an enormous place. Anyway, when you live in the mountains, that's really a blessing in itself because you have a wonderful view. You live as if you live in the top of the world. So Caleb was given a mountain as inheritance. So that's a blessing. Isaiah, Caleb, Abraham. Abraham nearly sacrificed Isaac on the mountains of Moriah. Mountains in Moriah. Moses received the 10 Commandments, the law of God, on a mountain. You see that? Isaiah, Caleb, Abraham, Moses, they have this commonality about mountains. Now, the transfiguration of Jesus was on a mountain. When the Lord was revealed for whom He was and is to come, it happened in a mountain. Transfiguration. And then when Jesus would like to retreat, He normally goes to a mountain. Mountains. Mountains are similar to the blessings of God, where the rest and the presence of God. In Ezekiel 36, we see a very powerful word concerning the mountain. The prophet was told to prophesy to the mountain, and this was not just any mountain, this was specifically called the mountains of Israel. Meaning, the mountains of Israel is being ridiculed, being abolished, being slandered, being wiped out by the enemies of Israel. So, the command, the instruction, were to speak to the mountain. These were the mountains of Caleb and his descendants. These were the mountains of promise and prosperity. These were the fertile lands of Israel's orchards and fields. This was the center of agricultural district, their economic backbone. So, when Ezekiel saw this vision, and God spoke to Ezekiel, God said to Ezekiel, Ezekiel, tell the Israelites, speak to the mountain. Speak to where your income is coming from. Speak to where your family lives. Speak to where your health belongs. So God is basically telling Ezekiel, you have to speak to where you want to live. Now you have to remember, the Israelites were living in Babylon. They were living in exile, in a horrible place. They were not living in the mountaintop. They were living in the valleys. They were horrible conditions. And for many, God would send what? A prophet. And God will tell to the prophet, you warn Israel first before I punish them. So this happens in the beginning, in the middle. It happens 14 times. That's why there are so many prophets in the Old Testament. Nehemiah, there's Daniel, there's a lot of prophets because God is telling them every time they live in peace, they live in prosperity, they live in a wonderful time, they tend to disobey God. And that basically is the history of Israel. Now, Ezekiel is not different from those prophets. It says here, Son of man, prophesy to the mountains of Israel and say, Mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. And the enemy said, aha, the ancient heights have become our possessions. Meaning, this is basically the devil telling, hey, you know what, God, look at Israel right now. You said Israel is your children, Israel is your chosen nation, but look at Israel right now. Just look at them. They're living like savages. They have nothing in possession. They are nothing. And the devil was really proclaiming, you chose a nation, and look at them right now. You said this is your people, but look at they are right now. Isn't it so true for us? For us Christians? We are the sons and daughters of Almighty King, and yet sometimes we find ourselves defeated. We have our problems. We have more problems compared to our blessings. And I think God is telling us one thing this morning, is we should learn to speak to our mountains. Enough of our consciousness, enough of this notion that we can always say it silently. No. I think in order for us to really receive the blessings of God, we should learn to speak before our mountains. The judgment of God doesn't last forever. And that's the beauty of God. The judgment of God doesn't last forever. The judgment of God that's designed to turn people back to the Lord. So God tells the prophet to begin prophesying. He told him to prophesy to the mountains and to the cities that lay in rubble, to the agricultural status, to the valleys, and to the dry bones. When we begin to decree, church, if there's one thing I would like you to remember this morning is this. This is very critical. When we begin to decree, when we begin to proclaim, or we begin to pronounce the word of God, something begins to happen. When we begin to decree the message of the Lord, it begins to be established. It sets things in motion. It births things forth. Church, when Ezekiel 36 was written, the Israelites were still living in Babylon. They were still living in exile, meaning they are foreigners in that nation, meaning they don't have right. They cannot buy their own house. They cannot have their own farm. They are basically exiles in Babylon. But Ezekiel said, you Israelites, begin to proclaim blessings and prosperity, and God will move it into past. So what God is trying to say this morning is, whatever circumstances you are going through right now, you're having a bad marriage right now, relationship is in trouble, your kids are not what you expect they are, you're having a hard time finding a good job, or you are in the last, or haven't been promoted, business are not really that good, whatever circumstances right now you're going through, this is the word of God. Speak to your mountains and pronounce blessings and prosperity. It doesn't make sense about, Pastor, I could not see any change right now in our marriage. I couldn't see any change right now with my kids. I could not barely see any changes or any possibility of being promoted. It doesn't matter. You know what? Because the Lord says, speak forth. Proclaim blessings. Proclaim prosperity. Speak forth the word of God. Enough of those things when we say, you know what, brother? Can you pray for this? But just the two of us. You know what? We've tried that. We've